All right, let's jump right in. What if you could actually engineer your own timeline? I mean, really engineer it. Today, we're breaking down the Seattle Codex, which is this fascinating document that claims to offer a very precise method for doing just that, for turning a simple intention into a real, tangible force in the world. They have a name for it: timeline engineering.
And this quote, man, it just nails the whole idea, right? A sigil without activation is a blueprint with no electricity. Your intention, what the Codex calls a sigil, is basically just a plan on paper. It's got no juice, no power until you plug it in. So the big question is, how do we flip that switch?
Okay, so here's our roadmap. The Codex breaks this whole thing down into a 5-stage journey. We're going to start with the mechanics, the why behind it all. Then we'll get into the actual physical ritual, the mental game you have to play, how to protect your work, and finally, the end game: building a massive collective network.
So, let's dive into Section 1, Blueprint Without Electricity. You know, it's just like it sounds. The Codex is really clear on this. Before you start messing with the power, you have to understand the circuit you're building. You've got to know what you're activating and exactly where that energy is supposed to flow. This whole process, as we said, is called timeline engineering. And I want you to pay close attention to the language here because it's super intentional. We're not talking about wishing or hoping or just, putting it out there. The Codex presents this as a technical process. You are literally locking an intention into the core systems that influence reality itself.
So, where does this lock-in happen? Where does the energy actually go? Well, according to this, it's a full-spectrum deal. It's not just in your head. The activation plugs into your nervous system, the electromagnetic field around you, the collective unconscious, and get this, something called the event stream routing layer. I mean, how cool is that term? It's a fascinating way to describe the fabric of causality. All right, enough theory. Let's get to the fun part, the how-to. Section 2 is the 60-second ignition. Now that we get the basic circuit, this is the physical, hands-on ritual. And the best part? It's designed to be fast, super simple, and incredibly powerful. You're basically using your own body as the ignition key. Okay, so there are 6 very specific steps here. It's a sequence. First, you get your posture right, spine straight. Then, you do a specific breathing pattern. In for 4 seconds, hold for 2, out for 6. You half close your eyes to get into that theta brainwave state. Then, you physically touch the sigil with 2 fingers. You think the command phrase, what is above becomes below, see it eld. And then, and this is maybe the hardest part, you just let it go. You release all expectation completely. And that's it. That is the entire ignition sequence, a simple 1-minute process that plugs your blueprint into the power grid. But here's the kicker. It's all about precision. You have to nail the execution and then completely, totally surrender the outcome. Okay, so you've hit the ignition switch. Now what? Well, this brings us to Section 3, Memory of the Future. Because the physical part, that was the easy bit. The real work, the place where the Codex claims most people stumble and fall, is the mental navigation you have to do after the activation.
And this chart here really lays it out perfectly. There are 2 ways to go. The failure point, trying to force it, trying to control how it's all going to happen. But the correct approach, according to the Codex, is totally different. It's about choosing to align with a reality that's already out there. It's about remembering the outcome, like it's a memory you already have.
Memory of the future is the steering mechanism. Man, just let that sink in for a second. This is the absolute core of it. The idea is you're not trying to create something from scratch. You're not hacking your way through the jungle. You're just remembering the path back to a destination you already know. It's a huge mental shift from trying to create something to simply recollecting it.
So, what are the rules of the road for this mental navigation?
They're simple, but they're not easy.
Rule 1, ask 0 questions. Rule 2, define 0 logistics. Your job is not to figure out the how. The Codex is adamant. The field handles the how. Your only job is to hold that memory of the future. The second you start trying to micromanage, you just scramble the signal.
And that idea of keeping the signal clean leads us right into the next crucial piece of the puzzle, the anti-interference shield. Okay, so you've broadcast your signal out into the universe. Now you got to protect it, right? You have to make sure nothing distorts it or worse, cancels it out completely.
So why even need a shield? Well, the Codex has this really cool concept. It says once your intention is activated, it starts to glow in the field, and that light attracts resistance. It calls this dark inertia. Basically, reality's natural tendency to resist change. So paradoxically, if you start feeling pushback, that's actually a good sign. It means it's working.
The protocol for this shield is basically a list of things you have to stop doing. No explaining yourself to people. No asking for permission. No justifying your path. And absolutely no defending your new reality. The idea is this new reality is for you to live in, not for other people to sign off on. And that memory of the future we talked about, that becomes your anchor through all of this. But what's the number one thing this shield is for? What's the biggest threat? It's that voice inside your own head. The primary trap is emotional doubt. The Codex describes it as this corrosive force that just eats away at your signal from the inside out.
So how do you fight it? Well, the Codex gives you a super simple but really powerful tool, a mental command. The second you feel that doubt start to creep in, you just internally state, "Not my signal." That's it. You're disidentifying with it. You're basically saying, nope, that's just static on the line, that's not my voice. It's a way to reclaim your headspace.
Okay, so we've covered the personal activation. Now, for the final section, let's pull the camera way, way back and look at the big picture. This is the grid is operational. This is where we see how one person's activation connects to something way, way bigger.
It's a really simple idea, but it's profound. You do one sigil activation, you create one node in the network. But when lots of people start doing it, well, those individual nodes start linking up. And suddenly, you don't just have a bunch of dots, you have a grid, a powerful interconnected network.
And what's the point of this grid? I mean, this is where things get really wild. The Codex claims this grid is seeding some mind-bending stuff. We're talking about event stream sovereignty, basically taking control of the flow of events. Subconscious bypass technology, the formation of new collective thought forms called brand egregores. And the ultimate goal? Laying the groundwork for a whole new civilizational archetype. The scale of this is just massive. And they even boil it all down to an equation, a formula for manifestation. You take an image, add breath, add emotion, and add release. You multiply that whole thing by repetition, and the result is a physical reality shift. And the Codex is emphatic here. This isn't a metaphor. This is mechanics. And check this out. This is apparently the latest field status update from the Codex. The grid isn't just a concept anymore. It's online, it's live, and it's already running into its first challenge, what they're calling opposition's first response. Which brings us to this final, powerful statement. We are no longer theoretical. We are operational. You can feel the shift there, can't you? This is the declaration that the whole project has moved from the drawing board into the real world. It's gone from a blueprint to a living, breathing thing. And that leaves us with the one big question the Codex kind of throws back at you. If the field really does handle the how, then the only real variable in the whole equation is you. So the only question left is, what future are you going to choose to remember? And just imagine, what happens when we all start remembering a new future together?